In today's episode, you'll learn about the state of AI agents, the impact to your business, and the shift we're seeing from just chatting with a chatbot to actually leveraging AI to do work and tasks for you. We'll show you examples of AI agents doing real business work, how you can start, and some challenges these agents will face over the next coming months and years. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye. I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're talking about the state of AI agents. And I think the last couple of months, so today is February 9th, I think something in the AI space, not to everybody else's knowledge, but just in the AI space, there's been a little bit of a shift from the chatbot era, chatting through. For most people, it's finding information, booking their travel, creating recipes, and doing some work for some more advanced, like using custom GPTs, maybe connectors, but still that whole chat to text kind of deal. You chat with, it gives you information, you either copy and paste it, or maybe outputs a file for you. But now we're significantly moving into AI doing the work for you, right? So the example I have is a little bit more advanced example is Claude Cowork, right? You give it access to a file, and instead of you just asking it to analyze what's ever in the file, you can say, hey, delete that file or analyze it, create me new files, PowerPoint, Excel, Word, whatever it is. You can stack tasks on top of each other. So go into this folder, go into this folder. I think we're moving into that direction, but I think the issue is a lot of people are still in the whole basic, I'm going to chat with ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and that's where we're at. What do you think,
Well,
Jeff?
I think, Carl, it is. It's fascinating to see what's happening. And I think, you and I have had these discussions. You and the rest of the team are way more technical than me. I'm fairly technical, but it is one of those things where the stuff that's happening in the shift, I think it's going to take business executives a little bit of time to get to understand it and understand what the capabilities are. But this also goes back to our point when we're working with companies. This is the exact reason why it's important to start your AI integration process sooner than later so that you at least understand the basics of the technology. So when things like what's been happening in the past few weeks, few months, you're better able to grasp the concept of AI agents. Because if you went in and just talked to somebody today and they were totally unfamiliar with AI and what it's possible of, you'd be speaking Greek to them and they would have no clue what it is you're talking about. So I think it's important that people get the basic understanding and then start to realize what's coming down the line, because it will impact them in the very near future in a good way.
And we haven't seen, like, again, we've talked about how the tech has been moving so fast that we haven't seen something like this where it takes, let's say, 3-5 years previous technology for people to really get used to it, really understand it thoroughly. But we're in a process now where people are still trying to understand the chat aspect of this. Now you're starting to introduce the, hey, can do stuff aspect of this. And in a previous episode, we talked about the folks who are anti-AI, who, whether it's hallucinations, whether it's environment, whether it's going to fear of losing their jobs, whether it's copyright, whatever it is, that fear is now going to be compounded because it's like, hey, it's not just conversations, it's actually doing the work, right? It isn't just, I'm going to get efficiency from a chat GPT email or a custom GPT. It's like, hey, this thing is actually doing the work that perhaps I was in charge of in the past, but now can do it either more efficiently, or you can stack 10 of them and let them go and you do something else.
I think that's the biggest benefit that I've seen, where again, you can just, set these agents off to do a task and move on to the next thing. Whereas traditionally you'd have to follow it through and spend that hour, 2 hours, whatever it is to get the task done. Set your agent up to move it along. And again, it might not get you 100% of the way, but it might get you a good ways down the road, which I think is where the real power is. And we talked about this, that our belief is that in the near future, whether it's a year down the road, a lot of people's jobs will involve coming in the morning, setting their agents up to go off and do these tasks. And then it'll be a matter of managing these agents and trying to figure out, go back and do the checks and do the verifications and, guide these agents. But they're going to do the bulk of that, repetitive, laborious type work on your behalf.
And the whole OpenClaw, Moltbot, hype that came out, right? The people are doing things using Telegram or whatever that was, or WhatsApp, or I even ran it when I was in Mexico. I easily put it virtual machine, run it on WhatsApp, run it on Slack, and security nightmare for sure. But those are the glimpses of having true agency where, hey, this is the goal. And it for me, it started sending emails without me asking it to send emails. Like, this is the goal. This is why I sent these emails. It's like, holy, like that's kind of, now we haven't pressed for most of 99.99% of businesses will not ever deploy that in its current state, but we can see within the year, I guarantee all the major AI labs will be leaning into this because of how popular it became to have some sort of more secure version of it that people can do this. Will businesses implement it? Most likely, for most businesses, not. But again, back to the capability overhang of what AI can do and what you're using it for.
But you said they won't release it in its current form, but the process or the thinking behind it, the philosophy behind it, will absolutely impact businesses. Because again, it's interesting. This is a bit of a security nightmare in my opinion right now, which I think all companies and IT departments need to be aware of. But I think OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, everybody's aware of the security concerns, so they're going to take the philosophy behind these tools and figure out ways to tighten the security so that you have more control of it. And they will release a version that you'll be able to release securely and confidently in the very near future. And I think that's the interesting thing. So if you can get an understanding of what it's capable of, that'll start to impact. Again, it goes back to that, learn the basics and then get in the game. And then as these things come out, because if you don't, you may have a competitor that does, or you may, as you always say, Carl, it might be that AI-centric competitor that comes out of nowhere that is using these tools, and now you're on your heels and you don't even understand what's going on around you. Like, you're totally playing catch up.
So I want to show for people who haven't actually what does it mean by tools doing work for you? So I'll give you a very simple example here. So one of our processes, I need to download our meeting notes from our discovery sessions into a folder, right? Very simple. I need the transcripts and the summary. And it takes me, I don't know, depends on how many discovery sessions departments we have, 8, 9, 10. I would say it takes me 6, 7 minutes to do it, tops 10 minutes to do it. What I did was, so this is Claude Cowork. In general sense, I said, hey, I want you to connect to Fireflies and just download all these files for me. Super simple example, goes into Fireflies. I don't have to go into it anymore. And it will download me the transcript and the summary. So a bit of time, but here's the actual Word documents from Fireflies that it's taken, and then it's put them into the folder. So in this case, all these folders have the summary and transcript. I didn't download it. It was purely AI to download it, right? Simple example, but I think that's the type of capability that we're looking at. Again, download to folders, but now what I can do is say, hey, analyze those two and create for me whatever I wanted to create, a spreadsheet, a Word doc, and for us, it's a discovery session outcome. But that alone, like, very simple download from, I essentially let it go and I did something else. It probably took it a little bit, either the same amount of time or a little bit longer, but it just completely freed me up to do something different. 6 minutes, 10 minutes.
Well, a quick example I had last week. I mean, I've taken a lot of photos over the years, tens of thousands of photos, had them all in folders, had them all on Dropbox, and I used Cowork to go in, and I said, go into these folders, review all of my images, identify any duplicate folders or images, and I just set it, forgot about it, came back. It didn't take that long. It might have taken 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, but it came back with 2,400 duplicate photos that I had no idea they were duplicate photos. If I would have tried to do that manually, it would have taken me weeks upon weeks to go through folders and try and find duplicate. In all honesty, I couldn't even have done it. And yet using Claude Cowork, so I think that's the thing, is that the capabilities are there. It's now going to be up to the users to be able to understand it and figure out what in your work process or your personal life, where these agents can start to create those efficiencies for you. So pretty powerful stuff still, I would say, in its infancy, but I mean, it's moving pretty quickly.
But I think we need to take a couple of steps back here and just like think about it, like 2023, 2024, what it just was able to do for you is pretty amazing. Like your example is even more powerful than my example. It's like you probably wouldn't have done it. You would have just,
No.
you know what? No, I don't have time for this. But for it to be able to do that, think about how many files in drives that are just sitting there like, I don't have time to go in there.
Duplicates,
Don't.
various versions.
And this isn't a person's job. They just don't want to do it because it's too much. Get your AI to clean up your folders could be just one simple example of, hey, it's completed it. But now it can also do other things. And this is what I mean, the manual, like repetitive stuff that people don't like to do. This is the stuff that it can do, and it can take action, not just chat against it, which I think is a pretty amazing concept.
Carl, we had a municipality client last year, and they had multiple versions of bylaws in their filing system. We also had an accounting firm we were talking to, and they had multiple files. I mean, like nobody's going to be able to go through and identify the differences between versions. You know, you would think either a naming convention or date created or date modified, but doesn't even do it. Well, now again, today, you're a bit closer to being able to have potentially an AI agent go through that and go, this is the latest copy of your bylaw. This is the latest copy of this report, and clean that data up and then get rid of the rest of that. Because I literally deleted 2,400 photos that were taking up space on my computer. And I actually cleaned up with that too. It cleaned up. I had, there was something like 45 folders that were duplicates because I must have like copied them from here and then I copied them over here, but I didn't even realize, and it just went through and cleaned it all up. So very powerful.
And unfortunately, for those who are like, hey, this is amazing. If you're on a PC, not quite yet, it's not there. And you do have to pay for Claude, just the pro plan, not the max plan, but you do have to pay for it. And I think this is where, the actual usefulness of this, but Jeff, you mentioned something, it's up to you to think about it. But unfortunately, most people don't know that this capability exists, right? And that's the problem we're seeing. Is the analogy I like to use, like, hey, there's a new button on your car every single week, but you don't know that there's this thing that can help you unless you read the manual, but no one reads the manual. You just drive your car. So it's very difficult for people to know, hey, you have Claude Cowork, now you have this, when you're still stuck on ChatGPT. I'm just using it to have a conversation.
Well, and let's be very, very clear here. The podcasts that we do, we talk about some very basic things, but we also start to talk about the latest and greatest. And Carl, you're usually the one keeping me up to date on the latest and greatest. In no way, shape, or form, if you are only using the very basic ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is for prompting emails, should you start going in and necessarily trying to figure out agents just yet. You got to walk before you run. And I think that's probably part of the problem with AI is everybody's trying to keep up to the latest. So you got people that haven't even used AI to create a basic email, and they're starting to look into how they can use agents. Start with the basics. Start to use these tools, the basic applications, and test the waters with those. And you're going to be able to then get more confident and start to use some of these more advanced tools. But that goes back to our message about urgency, is that now's the time to start learning about this technology. And let me just clarify. If you're a business executive, just turning on Microsoft Copilot and giving your employees access to it is not an AI integration plan, and they are not going to be able to figure out how to use tools like this if that's all you're doing.
I think what's even more important here is something like when we, I just want to show this, is this article from CNBC where Goldman Sachs taps Anthropic, Claude, to automate accounting and compliance rules, right? So your business probably is not competing with Goldman Sachs, but that's what's happening is from an agent perspective, hey, what are the things, we talk about this a lot, what are the things, the repetitive tasks that you're doing that can be automated? But now you've got major companies like, hey, you know what? We're not just doing basic ChatGPT, whatever. It's like, hey, now the tech is has the capability to completely automate certain elements. Now you have agents being able to automate elements. Going back to your point, Jeff, I think it's extremely important that the start now, not the, oh, we've got Copilot or we're good. We got people using chat. I'm like, no. You either an
Or,
AI native or your competitors or so on.
yeah, or we're too busy.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, if you're too busy to start looking into AI and how it can help help your business, there's a good chance you won't be that busy in a couple of years. So when your business is failing because your competitors are outperforming you, so then you'll have plenty of time, but that might be a little too late. So, and that's not a scare tactic, but that's just reality. Like I honestly take a look at executives that say we're too busy or we've just turned on Copilot, that's all we're doing, or we're going to look at it next year. I'm like, go for it. Like, big warning though, there's a good chance your competitors are going to figure out how to use these tools, and especially things like agents. And Carl, another thing you talk about is also from an agent standpoint is setting your business up so that, if your consumers start to have agents, is your business going to be able to be set up to be able to interact with
Their agents. Yeah.
their agents?
Going back to just your examples of cleaning your files full, like that alone, if you apply that to so many different businesses, and that's just one use case too, that is a significant advantage for people to have agents going into their folders, just that, to either organize, to analyze, and then create. That is, I would think, a good chunk of work that people do on a regular basis, corporations do on a regular basis. Now that an agent can do it, it freed you up from how many hours of doing it. It freed me up. Yes, it freed me up, whatever. But imagine if I stack 3, 4, 5 of those tasks in a row and I just said, do it, which I do. And then I'm off doing something completely different, which I didn't do. So what I would say is for people who want to start, even just start, we're not talking about agents. We always say, hey, do a discovery, but even if you can't do that, pick one workflow, just one process, repetitive, eye rolling, things that you just hate, with a clear start and end, right? Map that out. You don't even need to write it out, just talk it out, right? Just use your AI, talk it out, and it'll transcribe it. And then just think of how AI can improve that process by 10%. We say 10 to 40, try to improve it by 10%. That's it. And you'll notice, like, once you start thinking about it that way, it kind of leads on to more AI type thinking. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how AI can impact your company? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.